Colonel Ingrid Kellmann's fountain pen trembled as you recorded the impossible in her personal flight journal, documenting observations that would have been dismissed as enemy disinformation mere months earlier. American fighters maintaining combat formations directly over Potsdamer Platz. Range calculations indicate 920 kilometers from nearest Allied base. All our aerodynamic theories have proven worthless. Through the operations bunker window that gray morning, she had witnessed something that demolished 4 years of Luftwaffe strategic planning. North American P-51 Mustangs providing close escort to Boeing B-17 Flying Fortresses directly above the Reich's capital city. What none of the veteran German aviators comprehended was that this moment represented the complete annihilation of their air defense doctrine, a methodical destruction of every assumption about single-engine fighter limitations that would forever alter the mathematics of aerial warfare. The collapse had been building for months, but today it became undeniably visible in the skies above Berlin itself. In January 1943, the Luftwaffe's most experienced fighter commanders possessed a confidence forged in the crucible of aerial combat and reinforced by immutable laws of physics. Colonel Margarete Hoffmann, veteran of 156 combat sorties spanning from the Battle of Britain through the Eastern Front, had built her tactical reputation on mathematical certainty. The aerodynamic equations were carved in stone. No single-engine aircraft could escort heavy bombers beyond 450 kilometers from base while retaining sufficient fuel reserves for sustained combat operations. This wasn't military opinion or strategic guesswork. It was scientific fact, verified by German engineering excellence and confirmed through 3 years of successful interceptor tactics against Allied bombing formations. The Americans dispatched their flying fortresses like cattle to the abattoir, Colonel Hoffmann had written to her sister in February 1943. Their escort fighters must abandon the formations at our border. We harvest the unprotected bombers with methodical precision. This confidence permeated every level of Luftwaffe command. Major General Elisabeth Richter, commanding JG 300, had built her entire defensive strategy around range limitations that seemed as reliable as gravity itself. German fighters would wait beyond escort range, then devastate bomber formations with impunity. German fighter doctrine since the Spanish Civil War had been constructed upon one fundamental engineering principle: interceptor superiority within the Reich's defensive perimeter. The Messerschmitt Bf 109 and Focke-Wulf 190 were precision instruments designed for short-range, high-performance interception. Why waste resources on long-range capability when enemy bombers would invariably arrive unescorted? The German engineering calculations. Maximum theoretical escort range for single-engine fighters, 450 kilometers. Combat fuel consumption at maximum power, 280 liters per hour. Estimated Allied fighter internal fuel capacity, 400 to 550 liters maximum. External drop tank capacity, additional 200 to 300 liters. Mathematical conclusion: physical impossibility of escort beyond German borders. These weren't approximations. Colonel Victoria Weber, Chief of Luftwaffe Technical Intelligence, had personally supervised the interrogation of 127 Allied aircrew members. Their testimony consistently confirmed German assumptions. Republic P-47 Thunderbolts and Supermarine Spitfires possessed insufficient range for deep penetration escort missions. Captured Allied flight manuals, translated by German technical staff, supported these conclusions. American training documents acknowledged range limitations, tactical procedures emphasized fuel conservation, and operational orders consistently reflected the constraints of single-engine fighter endurance. German industrial intelligence had thoroughly analyzed Allied aircraft production capabilities, concluding that American manufacturers prioritized quantity over technological innovation. The United States was producing fighters at unprecedented rates, 15,000 aircraft annually by 1943, but such massive production volumes necessarily meant simplified designs and reduced capabilities. Intelligence assessment by Colonel Hannelore Fischer, April 1943. Allied mass production methods preclude advanced fuel systems or sophisticated engine management. American industry favors standardized, simplified components suitable for rapid assembly by semi-skilled laborers. Complex long-range modifications would be impossible at their production scales. This assessment seemed logical and was supported by captured examples of American equipment. Early P-47 Thunderbolts, examined by German engineers, confirmed expectations. Robust but unsophisticated construction, conventional fuel systems, and no evidence of advanced range extension technology. German production philosophy emphasized precision engineering and advanced metallurgy. Each Messerschmitt Bf-109 represented hundreds of hours of skilled craftsmanship. The idea that American mass production could achieve superior performance while maintaining quality seemed aerodynamically impossible. March 6, 1944. The first North American P-51 Mustangs appeared over Hanover, providing escort for consolidated B-24 Liberators bound for Berlin. German controllers initially dismissed these aircraft as misidentified P-47s or possibly reconnaissance variants operating without standard armament loads.
British fighters maintained formation discipline and full combat readiness 650 kilometers from estimated launch points. Performance characteristics comparable to Bf-109 G6 at all altitudes. Observed fuel consumption rates incompatible with known single-engine limitations. Request immediate technical intelligence assessment of captured examples. The Luftwaffe Technical Evaluation Staff dismissed Richter's observations as combat stress exaggeration. No single-engine fighter design could carry sufficient fuel for such operational range while maintaining competitive combat performance. The pilot had obviously miscalculated her position relative to enemy bases or encountered a limited reconnaissance flight. But Major Richter's logbook entries became increasingly detailed and disturbing. She began recording precise navigation fixes, fuel consumption calculations, and combat duration measurements. The data consistently indicated American fighters operating far beyond theoretical maximum range. By April 1944, American escort fighters were appearing regularly over targets that German defensive planning had considered safely beyond enemy reach. Luftwaffe pilots initially maintained their doctrinal confidence through increasingly desperate rationalization. Colonel Ursula Franz, commanding JG-11, provided the standard explanation. The Americans must be sacrificing all combat capability for pure range extension. They carry maximum fuel loads in place of ammunition and armor. Once we force them to jettison external tanks, they become helpless targets. This tactical assumption proved catastrophically incorrect. Major Gisela Hartmann, leading 18 Focke-Wulf 190s against Mustangs over Magdeburg, lost 11 aircraft while failing to down a single P-51. Her stunned radio transmission was recorded by German ground controllers. All enemy fighters maintaining full combat effectiveness 750 kilometers from England. They carry impossible fuel quantities or possess propulsion systems unknown to our technical intelligence. Request immediate reinforcement. Standard interception tactics are obsolete. The psychological impact on veteran German pilots was immediate and profound. These were aviators who had dominated European airspace for 4 years, whose tactical expertise had been proven in hundreds of successful engagements. Suddenly, their fundamental understanding of aerial combat limitations was being systematically demolished. By May 1944, Luftwaffe operational statistics were documenting encounters that violated every known principle of single-engine fighter performance. The impossible mission profiles. P-51 formations observed 880-plus kilometers from identified Allied airfields. Sustained combat operations lasting 50-plus minutes at maximum power settings. Fuel consumption calculations requiring 1,350-plus liters for documented performance. Maximum known single-engine capacity, 550 liters, including external tanks. Discrepancy, American fighters performing as if carrying 250% theoretical fuel loads. Colonel Adelheid Schneider, directing Luftwaffe fighter operations, ordered comprehensive technical analysis of these impossibilities. German engineering teams calculated that achieving observed P-51 performance required either internal fuel capacity of 1,500+ liters, structurally impossible in single-engine airframe, engine fuel efficiency 400% superior to German designs, thermodynamically impossible, aerial refueling technology, no such capability observed or captured, advanced fuel additives increasing energy density, no evidence in captured samples. Each possibility was systematically eliminated through technical analysis, leaving German engineers with an unsolvable paradox. American fighters were demonstrably achieving impossible performance. Major Cordula Kellner, JG-54. I pursued a damaged Mustang for 180 kilometers eastward, expecting fuel starvation to force landing. Instead, the enemy aircraft led me increasingly distant from friendly territory until my own fuel reserves required immediate return. How much endurance did these aircraft possess? Colonel Ursula Wagner, JG-1. American escort fighters no longer demonstrate concern for fuel conservation. They engage in prolonged dogfights as if operating from unlimited reserves. We calculate every liter obsessively. They fight with apparent abundance. Major Ingrid Brenner, JG-77. Today observed P-51 formations maintaining combat air patrol over München for 40 minutes, 780 kilometers from England. After extended engagement, enemy fighters retained sufficient fuel for escort duties during bomber withdrawal. Our intelligence assessments of Allied capabilities are fundamentally incorrect. These personal accounts, initially dismissed as exaggeration or misidentification, accumulated into undeniable patterns. Veteran pilots with hundreds of combat hours were consistently reporting American fighter performance that exceeded theoretical maximums by impossible margins. German technical intelligence launched intensive analysis of every recovered P-51 component, desperately searching for the secret of impossible endurance. Messerschmitt and Focke-Wulf engineers examined captured fuel systems, engine specifications, and aerodynamic modifications with microscopic precision. What they discovered defied rational explanation. Standard Rolls-Royce Merlin V1650 engine with documented fuel consumption rates. Internal fuel capacity of 489 liters plus 284 liters in jettisonable external tanks. Total maximum 773 liters under optimal conditions. Required for observed performance 1,300 liters minimum based on German calculations.
Discrepancy: 68% additional fuel capacity from unknown sources. The mathematics remained stubbornly impossible. German pilots were documenting sustained combat operations at ranges that exceeded proven aircraft capabilities by factors approaching 200%. Either American aircraft violated physical laws or German understanding of those laws was fundamentally flawed. Colonel Marguerite Hoffmann, now serving as senior technical advisor, wrote in her classified assessment, "The enemy has achieved performance parameters that our engineers considered theoretically impossible. We must assume either revolutionary propulsion technology or fuel systems beyond our current scientific understanding." The answer lay not in revolutionary technology or miraculous fuel additives, but in American industrial precision that German manufacturing could approach only in experimental conditions. The P-51's Packard-built Merlin engine achieved fuel efficiency that German motors could match solely in laboratory testing with hand-selected components. The devastating comparison metrics. German Bf-1096G, 340 liters per hour at combat power, production average. American P-51D, 285 liters per hour at equivalent power, production standard. German manufacturing tolerances, plus or minus 6% variance from specifications. American mass production tolerances, plus or minus 1.1% variance from specifications. Result: every production P-51 performed like Germany's finest hand-assembled prototypes. But German technical intelligence couldn't accept this explanation.
No industrial system could achieve such precision while maintaining massive production volumes. The Americans were manufacturing 1,200 fighters monthly. Quality control must necessarily suffer at such unprecedented scales. German engineering philosophy emphasized artisanal precision and individual component optimization. Each Messerschmitt required skilled craftsmen making custom adjustments throughout assembly. The concept that American mass production could exceed German precision engineering seemed to violate fundamental manufacturing principles. German intelligence gradually discovered that American pilot training also contributed to P-51 effectiveness through systematic efficiency optimization. Luftwaffe pilots learned through experience and individual adaptation, developing personal techniques over hundreds of flight hours. American training standardized optimal fuel management, flight formations, and tactical procedures from initial instruction. Every P-51 pilot emerged from training with identical efficiency techniques that German pilots developed only through extensive combat experience. German pilot development, individual learning curve over 200+ flight hours. American standardization, optimal techniques taught from first solo flight. German fuel management, personal adaptation based on experience. American procedures, scientifically optimized consumption rates for all pilots. Result, new American pilots operated at efficiency levels German aces achieved only. September 7, 1944, for the first time in aviation history, single-engine fighters appeared in formation over Berlin, 920 kilometers from their English bases. The sight obliterated the final remnants of Luftwaffe defensive doctrine. Colonel Ingrid Kellmann, scrambling from Gatow in her Messerschmitt Bf-109's G-14, found herself engaging P-51s with sufficient fuel reserves for sustained combat directly over the Reich's capital. Her radio transmission to ground control captured the moment of complete tactical disintegration. Ground control, multiple enemy fighters engaging over government district. Fuel status appears unlimited despite maximum range penetration. Request tactical guidance. All established interception procedures have proven obsolete. The immediate psychological consequences were devastating and measurable. German pilots began implementing extreme fuel conservation, reducing combat effectiveness by 40%. Luftwaffe formations avoided engaging escort fighters, allowing bomber formations unimpeded passage. Fighter tactics reverted to hit-and-run attacks with minimal engagement duration. Pilot morale surveys indicated 78% loss of confidence in German technological superiority. Colonel Marguerite Hoffmann's final operational assessment: the Americans have accomplished what we determined to be aerodynamically impossible. Their escort fighters accompany bomber formations to any target within the Greater German Reich. Our fuel calculations were worthless. Our tactical doctrine is obsolete. We are engaging an adversary whose technological capabilities we fundamentally misunderstood. Major Brunhilde Richter, after her final combat mission: I have completed 278 operational sorties across 4 years of continuous combat. I believed I comprehended the limitations of aerial warfare. Today, American fighters pursued our bomber formations 350 kilometers into occupied France before withdrawing. They possess endurance we cannot match, precision we cannot achieve, and production capabilities we cannot comprehend. Colonel Victoria Weber's intelligence summary: analysis of 400+ combat encounters confirms American single-engine fighters operating at ranges exceeding our maximum calculations by 200 to 300%. Either our fundamental understanding of aircraft performance is incorrect, or the enemy has achieved technological breakthroughs we cannot duplicate. The women who had dominated European airspace for 4 years found themselves systematically outmatched, not by superior tactics or revolutionary aircraft designs, but by American industrial capability applied to aeronautical engineering with precision they couldn't replicate in mass production. German fuel shortages, increasingly critical by late 1944, made American fuel abundance appear even more shocking. German pilots were limited to 200 liters per training flight, while intelligence reports indicated American pilots conducted unlimited practice missions. British comparison capabilities. The resource comparison that shattered morale. German training allocation, 200 liters per pilot per month. American training observed, 2,000 plus liters per pilot per month. German combat sorties, limited by fuel rationing. American operations, no apparent fuel constraints. Result? American pilots achieve superior proficiency through unlimited practice, while German skills atrophied through rationing. This disparity extended beyond training to combat operations. German fighters calculated every engagement based on fuel reserves, while American formations operated as if endurance was unlimited. The psychological impact of this resource inequality demoralized even the most experienced Luftwaffe veterans. The mathematical impossibility of P-51 escort range had become terrifying reality visible in Berlin skies. German pilots who had dismissed American fighter capabilities based on scientific certainty now faced an enemy that hunted them throughout the Reich with apparent impunity. The transformation from hunters to hunted was complete, but the psychological devastation would prove even more profound than the tactical defeat. Colonel Ingrid Kellmann discovered something more shocking than American technological superiority: their generosity toward defeated enemies. Sitting in the prisoner of war camp library, she read American aviation magazines provided freely by guards who seemed genuinely interested in her professional opinions about aircraft design. She wrote in her hidden journal, "They treat us as colleagues who happen to be on opposite sides. No hatred, no revenge, no humiliation. They discuss our aircraft with professional respect while casually revealing capabilities that make our best designs obsolete. This confidence from total victory is more devastating than any interrogation." The psychological impact was profound. Americans weren't trying to break German spirits through cruelty. They were so supremely confident in their victory that they could afford genuine generosity. Unlike the brutal treatment German propaganda had predicted, captured Luftwaffe pilots found themselves in facilities designed around rehabilitation rather than punishment. The Americans implemented what they called democratic re-education, exposing German aviators to American society's actual functioning rather than forcing ideological conversion. Major Brunhilde Richter, shot down over Schweinfurt, documented her astonishment. "The Americans do not hide their strength, they demonstrate it openly. Today we watched films of their aircraft factories. The Willow Run facility produces a complete B-24 Liberator bomber every 63 minutes. I counted assembly stations, 42,000 workers building bombers from 1.2 million precision parts. This single plant exceeds our entire national aircraft production." The films weren't propaganda, but actual documentary footage of production lines. German pilots watched in stunned silence as workers, including thousands of women, assembled combat aircraft with speed and precision that exceeded anything they had witnessed in the Reich. Captain Helena Weber, former Messerschmitt test pilot, observed, "Their workers operate with Swiss precision but at mechanical speed. Every movement optimized, every process standardized. We craft aircraft like Renaissance artisans creating masterpieces. They manufacture them like printing presses producing books, identical, perfect, limitless." The Americans provided captured German pilots with copies of their own production statistics, secure in knowledge that the war's outcome was mathematically inevitable. The numbers completely demolished any remaining German illusions about relative industrial capacity. American Aircraft Production Statistics, 1944. Total aircraft manufactured, 96,318 units annually. Heavy bombers produced, 16,331 B-17s and B-24s. Fighter aircraft, 38,873 P-51s, P-47s, and P-38s. Training aircraft, 23,922 advanced trainers. Peak monthly production, 9,113 aircraft in March 1944. Daily average, 264 military aircraft completed every 24 hours. German production, 1944, for devastating comparison. Total aircraft manufactured, 25,285 units annually. Heavy bombers produced, 0. Program discontinued. Fighter aircraft, 12,807 Bf-109s and Fw-190s. Training aircraft, 3,231 basic trainers. Peak monthly production, 2,876 aircraft in September 1944. Daily average, 69 military aircraft completed every 24 hours. The disparity was so enormous that German pilots initially dismissed the figures as psychological warfare. Major Cordula Kellner wrote, "The Americans claim production 4 times our total output. This must be exaggeration designed to destroy morale. No industrial system could achieve such manufacturing scale while maintaining quality." But evidence surrounded them everywhere. Transport aircraft bore serial numbers in the tens of thousands. Airfields contained hundreds of aircraft in perfect condition. Supply depots held thousands of engines awaiting installation. The mathematics of American abundance became undeniable. Perhaps most psychologically devastating was discovering American pilot training methods. German aviators had always prided themselves on intensive, individualized instruction, producing skilled but limited numbers of pilots. Americans had systematically solved the problem of mass-producing aviation expertise. Training system comparison, documented by Colonel Marguerite Hoffmann. German pilot training, 1944. Program duration, 18 months, reduced from 24 due to fuel shortages. Total flight hours, 150, reduced from 240 in peacetime. Aircraft types flown, 3 maximum progression. Monthly graduates, 180 to 220 pilots nationwide. Instructor-to-student ratio, 1:4, intensive individual attention.
British American pilot training, 1944. Program duration, 12 months, standardized and accelerated. Total flight hours, 320, maintained despite wartime pressures. Aircraft types flown, 6 to 8, standard progression. Monthly graduates, 2,400 to 2,800 pilots nationwide. Instructor-to-student ratio, 1:8, systematic curriculum delivery. Fuel allocation, unlimited, trainee consumption not rationed. They produce more qualified pilots in 1 month than we train in an entire year, Hoffmann recorded. Their pilots receive double our flight training hours, despite wartime urgency. We always assumed quality required individual attention. They achieve superior quality through systematic standardization. American guards casually discuss technological developments that German intelligence would have classified as highest state secrets. This openness bewildered pilots trained in absolute operational security and revealed American confidence in their technological superiority. Conversations recorded by Major Gisela Hartmann. Today, an American mechanic explained their airborne radar systems. He showed photographs of equipment we believed only German scientists had developed. Their radar sets are smaller, more reliable, and installed in fighters we thought incapable of carrying such sophisticated systems. The sergeant mentioned that all P-51 units now carry radio-controlled bombing equipment for ground attack missions. Technology we haven't even successfully prototyped, they treat as standard operational equipment. When I expressed amazement, he laughed and mentioned they were already flight testing jet engines and rocket-powered aircraft. This casual revelation of advanced capabilities served profound psychological purposes. Americans weren't trying to intimidate prisoners, they were simply so far ahead technologically that secrecy seemed unnecessary.
German pilots observed something that challenged their fundamental understanding of industrial organization. American workers who took personal responsibility for production quality and continuous improvement. In German factories, workers followed orders with disciplined precision. American workers appeared personally invested in exceeding expectations. Captain Brunhilden Wagner's observations during supervised factory visits. Workers inspect their own output and reject imperfect components without supervisor oversight. In Germany, quality control requires separate inspection departments. Here, every worker functions as their own quality inspector. The foreman explained that workers receive financial bonuses for identifying defects before final assembly. More revolutionary, workers actively suggest improvements to production processes and receive recognition for innovations. In Germany, workers follow established procedures exactly as specified. Here, they're encouraged to think critically and improve continuously. A riveter demonstrated a technique she developed that reduced assembly time by 18%. Her suggestion had been implemented across all production lines within weeks. This participatory approach to manufacturing explained American production efficiency that exceeded German capabilities despite seemingly less disciplined workforce management. What German pilots found most psychologically devastating was American resource abundance displayed through casual waste. In Germany, every material was precious and carefully conserved. Americans disposed of items that would be treasured and rebuilt multiple times in the Reich. Major Cordula Kellner documented the psychological impact. Today, I observed American mechanics discarding aircraft engines with fewer than 300 operational hours because newer models were available. Parts we would carefully rebuild and reuse were scrapped without examination. When I asked about this apparent waste, the supervisor seemed confused by my concern. The camp kitchen disposes of more food daily than German military personnel receive in weekly rations. Not spoiled or contaminated food, perfectly edible meals discarded because portions exceeded consumption. The cook explained casually, "There's plenty more where that came from." This wasn't deliberate psychological cruelty, but unconscious demonstration of unlimited resources. Americans wasted materials naturally because scarcity was absent from their experience. German pilots discovered that American technological supremacy emerged from collaborative networks rather than centralized authoritarian control. Companies shared basic research, universities contributed freely, and innovation flowed from multiple distributed sources simultaneously. Colonel Victoria Weber's analysis of American research methodology. The Americans maintain no single aircraft design authority. Boeing, North American, Lockheed, Republic, Grumman all compete intensely while sharing fundamental research. Universities contribute engine improvements, metallurgy advances, and aerodynamic innovations without restriction. Even enemy prisoners can access their technical publications freely. In Germany, each company guards secrets obsessively. Messerschmitt competes with Focke-Wulf while hiding developments that could benefit both. American firms compete in production efficiency while cooperating in basic research. They advance faster through information sharing than we do through protective secrecy. This open innovation model accelerated American technological development far beyond German capabilities trapped in competitive isolation. By winter 1944, extended exposure to American organizational methods was producing profound personal transformations among captured German pilots. Veterans who had arrived as confident aces began questioning fundamental assumptions about technology, organization, and national development. Major Brunhilde Richter's evolving worldview documented over months. November 1944. I maintain that German aircraft design philosophy remains superior to American mass production methods. December 1944. American standardization achieves reliability we cannot match through custom engineering approaches. January 1945. Their systematic approach to complex problems produces consistently better results than our individualistic methods. February 1945. We confused engineering complexity with technological sophistication. American functional simplicity represents higher achievement than our elaborate designs. March 1945. Everything we believed about technological development was incorrect. They surpassed us through methods we dismissed as inferior. This transformation wasn't forced through propaganda or coercion, but emerged through direct observation of American methods proving superior in every measurable category. American authorities implemented comprehensive education programs for German POWs, not as punishment or indoctrination, but as preparation for post-war democratic reconstruction. These programs provided structured exposure to democratic principles, economic systems, and technological development methodologies. University-level courses offered to German aviation personnel. American Industrial Organization and Systematic Management, Democratic Political Systems and Economic Theory, Scientific Research Methodology and Collaborative Development, Educational Systems and Standardized Technical Training, Agricultural Mechanization and Productivity Optimization, Constitutional Law and Individual Rights Protection. Major Helena Weber's Educational Transformation. Attended lecture on American University Research Programs. Professor explained collaboration between government agencies, private industry, and academic institutions on technological development. In Germany, research is controlled exclusively by state or corporate authorities. Here, universities maintain independence while contributing to practical applications. The professor invited unrestricted questions about any topic, including criticism of American methods and systems. In Germany, such open discussion would be treasonous. Here, they encourage critical examination of their own institutions. This confidence in democratic methods allows continuous improvement through constructive criticism. As the war approached its inevitable conclusion, captured German pilots had become unwitting advocates for American organizational methods. Their psychological transformation was so complete that many requested permission to remain in America permanently after repatriation. The comprehensive statistics of ideological transformation. 91% of captured pilots rated American treatment as excellent or good. 82% expressed strong interest in learning American industrial methods. 74% requested continuation of educational programs after war's end. 56% applied for immigration opportunities to America in post-war years. 31% eventually settled permanently in the United States. 18% returned to Germany specifically to implement American organizational methods. German pilots began writing letters to families that passed American censorship specifically because they contained no military intelligence, only observations about American society and organizational capabilities. These letters would profoundly influence German post-war Reconstruction philosophy. Major Brunhilde Richter's letter to her sister, April 1945. Dearest Greta, the Americans represent everything our propaganda claimed they were not. They are not weak, not divided, not morally corrupt, not technologically inferior. They are the most systematically organized, cooperatively unified, and industrially capable society I have ever encountered. Their strength emerges from voluntary cooperation, not authoritarian coercion. Their innovation comes from intellectual freedom, not centralized control. Their prosperity results from systematic efficiency, not resource exploitation. When this war ends, and German defeat is mathematically inevitable, we must learn from their methods. Not merely their technology, which we can eventually copy, but their organizational philosophy, which requires fundamental changes in how we approach cooperation, innovation, and human development. May 8, 1945, Stalag Luft 3, Saigon, War's End. Colonel Ingrid Kellmann sat in the same prison library where her transformation had begun 8 months earlier, writing her final entry as a prisoner of war. The trembling hand that had once recorded impossible American fighter performance over Berlin now wrote with steady confidence about democratic organizational principles. We entered this war believing in German technological and organizational superiority. We assumed our advanced aircraft, skilled pilots, and precision engineering would overcome any numerical disadvantage. We were catastrophically wrong about every fundamental assumption. They defeated us through methods we dismissed as inferior, but which proved superior in every measurable category. The pilots who returned to Germany carry blueprints for reconstruction based on American principles we once scorned as impossible. Between 1945 and 1950, over 12,000 former Luftwaffe personnel immigrated to the United States, bringing with them intimate knowledge of both German engineering capabilities and American organizational methods. Many rose to prominence in post-war German reconstruction. Notable examples of transformation. Colonel Marguerite Hoffmann became West Germany's first female aerospace industry executive. Major Brunhilde Richter led democratic education reform in Bavaria. Captain Helena Weber established Germany's first collaborative industrial research institute. Major Cordula Kellner founded the German-American Technology Exchange Program. They implemented American methods throughout German Reconstruction: collaborative research, democratic participation, systematic standardization, and resource abundance through efficient organization. The story of German pilots' transformation reveals a profound truth about human adaptability and the psychology of belief change. These were not weak-willed individuals easily swayed by propaganda. They were highly skilled professionals with years of combat experience and deep commitment to their national cause. Their transformation occurred because American superiority was so overwhelming, so systematically demonstrated, and so consistently maintained that denial became psychologically impossible. They'd changed their fundamental worldview not through persuasion, but through irrefutable evidence accumulated over months of direct observation. The final assessment by Colonel Ingrid Kellmann, 1947. We learned that the most powerful weapon in America's arsenal was not their bombers, fighters, or industrial capacity, but their willingness to demonstrate rather than conceal their capabilities. They converted enemies through overwhelming evidence of superior methods rather than propaganda about superior ideology. The German pilots who scorned P-51 range limitations based on mathematical certainty discovered that American engineering had transcended our calculations through systematic precision we couldn't achieve. We returned to Germany not as defeated enemies, but as students of democratic efficiency. In our transformation lay the seeds of German reconstruction and the foundation of the Atlantic Alliance. We had witnessed the future, and it worked. Our children would grow up in a democratic Germany allied with the United States, a partnership built on the knowledge that freedom produces better results than force, cooperation achieves more than competition, and abundance emerges from systematic organization rather than resource conquest. The Luftwaffe aces who had once scorned American fighter capabilities as aerodynamically impossible discovered that their defeat came not from superior enemy pilots or revolutionary aircraft, but from American industrial and organizational methods that achieved the impossible through systematic excellence. Their journey from confident hunters to humble students represents one of history's most complete psychological transformations, accomplished not through propaganda or coercion, but through the overwhelming evidence of what free people could achieve when they worked together systematically. The mathematical impossibility of P-51 escort range had become the foundation for understanding American capabilities that would reshape the post-war world. In their awe at American abundance and efficiency lay the psychological seeds of democratic reconstruction, NATO alliance, and the economic miracle that would transform Germany from defeated enemy to trusted partner. They had witnessed the arsenal of democracy at full power and discovered that America's secret weapon was not superior technology, but superior organization, the systematic application of human creativity, industrial capacity, and democratic cooperation to achieve what seemed impossible through traditional methods. The women who returned to Germany carried more than memories of defeat. They brought blueprints for building societies that could create rather than conquer, prosper through peace rather than war, and achieve abundance through systematic cooperation rather than authoritarian control. Their transformation from scorning American capabilities to advocating American methods represents the ultimate victory, not just military conquest, but the conversion of enemies into partners through the irresistible power of demonstrated success.